How do you know when to say goodbye? So far in this series, we have been building my first pedal board, but this week, we're going to talk about the first time I had to remove a pedal from the board. But how do you know when to do that? Maybe you don't have it on the right settings, maybe it would work if you knew more about it or tried it in a different part of the board, gave it some time, maybe you're just not in love with that bit of gear yet. How do you know when to give up and walk away? It really stuck with me that I learned a lesson that day, which is why I'm now making this video where I'm sharing with you 3 live audio stories and the things I learned, because I actually think they can be helpful and applicable to you and to my pedal board. And the lesson from this story is that if live audio has taught me anything, it is that I can no longer put up with just using voice notes app on my phone as a microphone. I'm a professional musician who's about to talk a lot about live sound. Like, I really should just use the gear that I have. So we're recording. There's Logic open behind me. All right, I'm going to tell you 3 different stories today, all about live sound. I am by no means a professional live sound engineer, but I know enough to help out every now and then. In our first story, it was summertime and a mate of mine needed a favor. He could not find anyone to mix his live show that he was putting on. He said, "Could you please come and help me out?" And I said, "Seeing as you're desperate, sure." A parcel came today and I wanted to open it. I paid for this with money that I made mixing a show. Now, I'm not an audio person, not really. I have a degree in composition and production, so I do know my way around mixing. I can make something sound good in a live setting, but I'm not good enough to solve problems, should problems come along. And unfortunately, we just had this problem.
That was unexpected.
It's a venue I've never been at before. It's gear I don't know anything about. I don't know how much setup I'm going to have to do. If it's just turn the thing on and mix, that's fine. If there's setup involved, that might not be fine. I turn up at the venue and he had said there would be a guy from the venue there to help me out. He didn't mention that this guy was a professional soundy, but I turned up and it was someone I knew. I was like, "Oh, hi, you're here." Thank goodness, because this was someone who'd been in the industry for maybe 50 years.
Help you again? Yes.
So he was there to help me out if I really needed it, which gave me some space to give it a go.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
And so the band was setting up and starting to rehearse and sound check. Everything was set up, working. The band was happily playing, but we had this problem. The vocalists couldn't hear themselves, and no one else could really hear the vocals either. Every time they'd finish a song and give me requests for things to change, they'd say, "Can you turn the vocals up?" And I got to a point where I said, actually, I can't keep turning these vocals up because it's going to turn into nothing but vocals in the foldback speakers, and it's going to bleed into the rest of the room. And can you put up with it? So they tried another song and they couldn't put up with it. They really couldn't hear the vocalist. And so I was really starting to sweat at this point. The drummer on stage, who is in a very big band called Middle Kids, so I kind of was trying to look professional for this professional drummer. He said, "I've got some other foldback speakers in the car if you think they would help," which would be a big change. But I said, "No, I think I can do it at the desk." I don't know if I was being stubborn.
I don't want your help.
But I had one idea left up my sleeve and I was determined to give it a try. And this is where the lesson from this story comes in. One at a time, I went through and I EQ'd out the bit where the vocals sit. And it really wasn't by much. It wasn't by much more than maybe 3 dB on everything. It just kind of was vaguely in maybe the 500 hertz area. And then on the vocals, I maybe boosted 500 dB by the tiniest amount. Why? Well, I wasn't quite sure why. I had this vague memory of a teacher saying one time that 500 is like what you turn up if you're trying to get the vocals to punch through. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's a false memory, but that's what I did. And it was genuinely like the tiniest of changes. And I was doing it thinking there's no way this is going to make a difference. But you know what? Those small things made all the difference. A little bit on the drums in the foldback speakers, a little bit on the bass, a little bit on the guitar, a little bit on the keys. Suddenly, everyone on stage was like, oh yeah, that's great. I can hear the vocals now. Move on.
I don't believe it.
So I walked away from that gig and I really thought, hey, you can learn helpful things doing live audio other than the actual craft of live audio. It really stuck with me that I learned a lesson that day that small changes can make a really big difference.
I can't. It's too big.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you?
Store in the back of your head that first story was with a band doing a project called Forgotten Hymns for my mate Luke, because we circle back around to that in the next episode. But before we start story number 2, let me introduce you to the Bass Preacher pedal. This is, sadly, the pedal that is going to leave the board at the end of this video. Well, I mean, it left a few years ago, but in terms of the chronology of this series, it's leaving the board at the end of this video. So even though I can muck through and mix a show as a favor for a friend, there are still lots of things in the audio world that do not make sense to me. Compression is one of those dark arts, alright? Mastering tracks, absolute dark art. Compression, absolute dark art.
Turn to page 394.
So this was a great first compressor pedal because it's got 2 dials and 1 little switch. And that's all I ever had to think about. Do I want to make my notes louder? Do I want to make my notes last longer? And how quickly or slowly do I want those changes to happen? So for story number 2, my friend Abigail Whiten took me up to a little duo show in a bookshop up north. There's a vlog here on YouTube.
Hi!
So we play the first set of this gig. It's Abby's songs and I'm playing bass and doing some backing vocals very badly because harmonizing is not something that comes naturally to me at all. We get to halfway through, there's a little break. The cheese boards come out. Towards the end of the halftime break, I can hear this feedback sound building. And suddenly it's unbearably loud and I am sprinting through the bookshop over to our setup and I just turn off my amp and it goes away. And I'm like, great, it's my problem. Cool. Turn my amp back on. Immediately comes back. Turn the amp off. And, you know, all the old ladies in this gig, they're like, my ears. I'm like, I'm so sorry. In the end, I just unplugged the entirety of my pedal board and played directly into my amp because I could not figure out what was wrong. And the lesson from this story is that if live audio has taught me anything, it is that you need to run towards your problems. You cannot ignore them. You cannot run away. You have to run towards the thing that's hurting your ears and possibly get your ears right in front of the thing, trying to reach the off switch for the speaker that is going rah, and it's painful for a moment, but it just has to happen. So I got home and thought, well, I guess that was my pedal board making a noise. Oh well, maybe it'll go away. And I just put my gear away and then got it out again the next time I needed it for a gig and used it. What a strange mystery. That'll never happen again. Time for story number 3. I have a gig with my band. It's a really small show in a local church. The guy on sound is just like a member of the church who uses the soundboard on Sundays but is not a professional sound guy. We do sound check. Everything's working fine. George does his opening act. I didn't know this guy, but there's a random dude with a mandolin got up and blew the room away. And then he finishes and I'm like, well, great. Now I have to follow a prodigy from the con. So we get up to play our set. We've actually rehearsed for once. Yay! Historically, that's not something my band has done a lot of. And I go to play my first note for the first song. No noise comes out of my bass. In a normal gig, you would expect the sound guy to get up and start doing his thing. This was just like a well-meaning volunteer who just sat there at the desk with no idea what to do. I felt so sorry for him. That was me at that first story when I just said, sure, I'll help out as a favour to a mate, really hoping nothing went wrong. Well, this guy was helping out as a favour to a mate, and something went wrong. So I go up to the desk, I'm like, do you know what's going on? He's like, no, but like these things just kind of happen in this venue, like random stuff just breaks all the time. I'm like, great, really helpful thing to say to me right now. Should we try plugging it into a different track? He's like, okay. I go unplug the DI that my amp is sending signal into, and I put it in a different track, and I go back, and that's not working either. So I return to the stage, and I'm looking down at my amp and my board, and I'm thinking what I should do is start at one end and work my way through and like test everything. That's why you start by changing tracks to see if just plugging the DI into a different input for the desk would work. That didn't work, so the next step is to try the next thing along the signal chain and work your way through. And I looked down and I thought, I know that's what I'm supposed to do, but we'll be here forever. It's just me up here. I haven't got a sound guy that can do this for me. I think I'm just gonna do this gig without my bass because the audience is sitting there waiting. I just turned to the band and I was like, oh well. And they were like, oh well. We did all the songs that we'd rehearsed. When it got to the bit of the song where it's usually like a bass solo, Andre just played something on guitar and we sounded great. It was a really good gig. I love my band. I love that on stage we can just like make stuff up and we have the kind of bandmate chemistry to do that kind of thing. But tell you what, I would much rather my bass had just worked. Oh my gosh. I opened this wrong. What I love about this is it kind of looks like a Lego piece. This is easily the most aesthetic interface of all time. I can now plug this into my computer. So my plan was to end this video. How could these lessons apply to building your pedalboard? If small changes can make a big difference, don't neglect the small things on your board. It's really tempting to get really excited about the creative pedals. Show off your new chorus pedal to your friends. Look at how beautiful this one is. Oh, I'm gonna watch YouTube videos about this weird one. But don't neglect the technical pedals. A very helpful commenter pointed out to me that they're called utility pedals. So I'm Australian. I'm gonna call them ute pedals. And stop being so she'll be right when they're a bit how you going. And the second lesson is run towards your problems. Don't do what I did and be like, well, maybe it'll just go away. No. What was I even thinking? Why did I just shove that stuff back in my cupboard when I got home? Terrible idea. I needed to have learnt the third lesson, which was, when you solve those problems, break them down into small things and work through them one at a time in order. When I finally had time to do that, I found my problem and solved it. And it really wasn't that complicated. The problem was the compressor pedal had gone kaput, and the solution was take it off the board. So those are our 3 live audio stories and the lessons we have learnt along the way, because the real friends we make are the lessons that we turn into a YouTube video, except maybe I didn't learn them as quickly or as well as I should, because tune in next fortnight for the next episode where I tell you about the new compressor pedal that I bought to replace that broken one. I took it on tour without testing it. That went well.